Let me share some of my thoughts about gouache paints. First of all, gouache paint is enormously expensive. However, it depends on what paint are you going to pay for, looking for. So there in my country where I live, you can buy Winsor & Newton introductory set from a retailer, quite a hefty price, and when you open the box you are a bit shocked that how small these are. Only 14 milliliters. I tried them, absolutely excellent quality, no problem with that, but I think this is brutally expensive. So if someone starts to work with gouache, get ready, get prepared that is expensive. So, and then especially when you want multiple colors, of course you don't have to buy, because if you have the primary colors, practically you can mix any colors. However, how to say, if you are not a big fan of just mixing every colors nuances that, and you want some really nice colors out of the tube, then you end up quite quickly spending a small fortune on gouache paints, and especially white. You can see in my box these are I also bought the white paint, titanium white. This is called permanent white in Winsor & Newton. Usually and everybody buys a bigger tube because you require a lot more. So one more thing, that Winsor & Newton paint, gouache paint, are made in France, in a city called Le Mans. And this city is exactly the same city where the Lefranc Bourgeois extra fine gouache, the Linel, how to say, product line gouache paints are made. So this is exactly the same factory where they are manufactured. And these Linel are also available my country, and approximately they are even in the price and the quality. They are excellent, very high quality. But they are, in my opinion, brutally expensive, especially when you are a beginner. Of course, every beginner should work with the best, highest quality paint, definitely, because it somehow compensates that you are a beginner. However, at the same time, because this is so very expensive, you are frustrated that you try to avoid wasting this precious paint material. So that's why this is always a typical issue, typical problem of the beginners, even maybe for advanced painters, that if you have too expensive paints, that you simply don't want to touch them. So that's why, in my opinion, it is a very good question. Where shall you go? Shall you go to buy a lower quality student grade paint, or, in my opinion, one of the best alternative is fortunately available in my country. We have here in my city, Budapest, a company called PANNONCOLOR. They are a local, quite small factory, but big enough that they are producing oil paints, watercolor paints, acrylic paints, and also gouache. It is called here tempera, this in our language, and tempera gouache, but this is a typical tempera. I mean, this is absolutely the same as gouache, so no difference. The only difference is, however, there are two major differences. One is this tempera, this is gouache in a sense that it resolves, re-wets back when dry. So it actually, when dry, you can just add water and you can use exactly the same. So this is a classic gouache, but in my country it is called tempera, in German it is called tempera, in Russian it is called tempera, so that's the way it is. Gouache, the word is not really used in my language. And then the other big difference is that the binder material in this is not gum arabic as typically the higher end products like Winsor & Newton and Lefranc Bourgeois and maybe other brands. But here it is dextrin, which is dextrin, another cheaper alternative to gum arabic. But otherwise this is an artist grade paint, so this is not a student grade paint. And the reason it is that, first of all, the tubes are presented in a very professional way. So when you buy a set of, first of all, they are available open stock in individual tubes, and there are I think 34 colors from this PANNONCOLOR tempera gouache. And then when you buy a tube, the tubes are 18 milliliters, so they are not as tiny as a bit bigger. Of course not that bigger, because it's 14 milliliters and this is 18 milliliters. So however, when you have a look, I have the impression that this PANNONCOLOR tube is a lot bigger, but anyhow. And then another important thing I try to demonstrate, that when you buy a paint, first it is completely sealed. There is a metal, this is a metal tube, and this metal tube there is a metal seal. So when you buy a Winsor & Newton, you cannot see, this is a professional, very expensive, no metal sealing, so it is completely open. However, this PANNONCOLOR, again I tell you, this is artist grade, so it is produced and sold for professional artists here in my country. And then this has this, in my opinion, really professional packaging, that it has a metallic seal on the tube. The other important part, that they are light fast tested, and all of the tubes are 3-star or 2 stars. And also the component, the chemical component, the paint component is also listed on the side of the tube, as well as the manufacturing date and time is also available. And then this says this is handmade product. And why I am so enthusiastic about this paint, because this is about 1/3 of the price of these expensive made in France paints. So that's why, and I wouldn't say that the quality is parallel. I don't want to compare. So when I've been using them for a couple of weeks now, so I am using both of these paints for my small project. I'm in the learning phase. I really don't see an enormous big difference. Maybe the only color, this is the white. So in my opinion, the white from the Winsor & Newton, this is brutally fantastic. So for very thin lines, the consistency and the granularity of the paint is really very fine and precious. So therefore, when you want to paint white, very thin lines on, it's easier with this Winsor & Newton. And of course the Lefranc Bourgeois, which is exactly the same price range, is also as easier. However, the PANNONCOLOR titanium white is also excellent, especially when you want to paint bigger surfaces, when bigger pictures, bigger paintings, larger paintings, not only A5 but A4. This is a fantastic product. Again, quality, artist quality in every sense, and then it's really a great option. And because its price is so affordable, practically I love them a lot better. So I love this Winsor & Newton collection as a kind of collection which I try to glaze, admire, but don't touch them because they are so expensive. Here, PANNONCOLOR is my workhorse here, is that because they are inexpensive, it's very high quality, no problem with that. So that's why it is an absolutely good solution. So what I wanted to say, that you don't necessarily have to pay have to buy inexpensive students grade paints, because for example in my country from Budapest, from this PANNONCOLOR, you can buy absolutely affordable prices, high quality, artist grade quality gouache paints. And not only from my city, there is a Polish company called Renaissance. This Polish company, they are also making artist grade quality gouache. And also in the Czech Republic there is a company called Umton. They are also making fantastic products. They are, the Polish and the Czech versions, they are more expensive, about twice as expensive, but definitely they are not higher quality than PANNONCOLOR. So that's why I'd love to say to you, my friends, that if you want to have an affordable, and this is a European within the European Union, you don't have to pay any extra taxes. So just simply try to find this website from PANNONCOLOR website, or write some emails to them. They are very nice people, and then they will send you actually excellent quality PANNONCOLOR as I showed you. So this is metal sealed tubes, 18 milliliters tubes, out of these 34 colors. And then in my opinion, that's one of the best option that you can have, and they blend excellently with more expensive paint. So maybe first just because they are so inexpensive, just right away you can simply buy a set of say 12 colors, and then you can use them together. So maybe when you, especially for experimental project, and then when you love it, definitely you will be very happy that you learn that you don't have to pay enormously big money. So again, the prices of these are about 1/4, sometimes 1/4. That is 4 tubes is equal to the price of this tube. So that's the major difference. That's a big difference, guys. So that was my idea. Again, the message I wanted to say, that there are countries, resources or makers who are making artist grade quality products, and you don't have to pay immediately the big money for when you are a beginner or gouache painter. So I highly recommend the PANNONCOLOR paints.